Hello everyone. It's James again. Today we are going to be talking about a very sad and important case. And that is the recent case of Colin Griffith. He's a 17-year-old very smart and studious young man. One problem. Last year, he claimed his father pulled a weapon that has a blade on it and threatened him. So young Colin, I'm assuming, grabbed the family weapon that goes pew pew and ended his father's life. At first Colin was charged with first-degree deleting of his father, and was released to his mother, and moved from Oklahoma to Florida to be with his mother. Shortly thereafter, all charges in the case of him deleting his father were dismissed. Colin graduated high school early, and was already attending college. His mother bought him a new car. But it seemed Colin couldn't control his temper or impulses, and was arrested for beating and stomping his mother on the ground because of taking away his video games, as he wasn't doing his household duties. Just like when he deleted his father, he claimed self-defense against his mother, but he was still arrested. The mother did what's called the Baker Act to him, which means they had to hold him for at least 72 hours for mental evaluation. He was released, and some time later, another argument happened. Colin then called 911 and said his mother fell upon a weapon that had a blade on it. He wasn't scared. He wasn't upset, as one would be if they were trying to save a loved one's life. He was just matter of fact about it, or so it's alleged. Neighbors report seeing Colin drag his mother's body back into the house by her hair. When the police showed up, he without emotion said, "I want a lawyer. I know my rights." Look. This is one of these situations where, and we don't know yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was no abuse done to this guy. I mean, it very well could have happened. But there are some people that are just born off. We've had that conversation before. Born or made. And the truth is, the most common, in my opinion, is made with a sprinkle of genetics. But the ones that are truly just born, they have a loving home, and they just start deleting one family member after the next. These are the rare 1% we hear about. Because the ones that are made or made with a sprinkle of genetics, those are super common and are literally everywhere. And I think the numbers are way higher than what the experts are reporting. But those that are strictly born, I can buy into the fact they are super rare, and are at a low percentage of the population. The issue is knowing what his problem is. Because here's the thing. These mental conditions can greatly overlap one on top of the other. There are those that are bipolar, that are rarely if ever violent. And then there are those, like mentioned in this news story, and I will put a link for it in the description box below. But there are those that will get violent and will attack family members and even end their lives. But what is the diagnosis? There have been some diagnosed people with such problems that have given interviews. We talked about one such person a few years back, as he had a diagnosis of bipolar. I forget if it's 1 or 2. But he also had a second diagnosis of antisocial disorder, which is a polite way of saying he has zero, and I do mean zero, empathy. He said he's in therapy and on meds, and he purposely stays away from getting too close to people. And the reason being is, he comes across as a normal guy, and others would see him that way if they didn't know his problems. And he said that he just didn't want to be tempted to do wrong things. So he just stays away from getting too close to people. Because even though he doesn't care and has no empathy, more than likely through therapy, he's realized nothing good will come of him being around people. And it will likely lead to him getting into trouble. Also, there are those that have bipolar and borderline personality disorder together. And then there are those that just are bipolar. What about the demon part of the question? Well, my question is, Was Colin hearing voices in his head telling him to do such a thing? Or was it just a random outburst? When the police came, Colin said that if he were to stay with his grandmother after this, if she crosses him, she will be next. I have a strong feeling. Just like most parents that are in such a rare situation. They probably noticed strange things going on with Colin when he was quite young. But they just didn't want to admit they had what many would say is a defective child. A crazy child. A dangerous child. And I'm just assuming here. But likely if this is the case, they did their best to cover up his problems and help him the best way they knew how. Probably hoping he would just grow out of it. The mother bought Colin a shiny nice new car. Right after he deleted his father and was let off on charges. I wouldn't be shocked if she questioned in her mind regarding Colin deleting his father and the circumstances surrounding what happened. But her buying the car, in my opinion, is not just her wanting to be nice, but hoping Colin could move past his problems once and for all, and get to where he needs to go in life. Now the only obvious stressor that I see is I don't think his mother and father were together, as the father lived in Oklahoma and the mother lived in Florida. Now typically, in the United States, the courts within regards to family courts side with the mother and give the mother custody. And usually, not always, mothers tend to want custody, as it usually means they will get support. This is why you hear so many talking about how the family court system is completely broken and a crooked racket. Quite simply because it is. So to see the child not living with the mother and living with the father is really strange. At least here in the US. So either the mother had a real demanding job that wouldn't allow her to take care of her son in his younger years. Or maybe he was a handful, and she felt like she couldn't control him. So possibly it was agreed to have the father try to keep their son on the straight and narrow. Here's the problem. Mental illness doesn't care about any of that. However, it can oftentimes be triggered by trauma, substance abuse, and other problems. Or sometimes it can just happen. So is it possible there is something there that was a stressor for Colin in his early years? Possibly. But let's say Colin was or is bipolar and antisocial, for an example. None of any kind of normal parenting would have helped or worked. And he likely needed medical intervention long before he did what he did. But here's the other possibility. He could also be a stone-cold psychopath. That's it. End of story. And maybe he just wanted to know what it felt like to do what he did. You know, we've talked about what it looks like when a narcissist or psychopath overplay their hand. This guy got away with ending his father's life and claimed self-defense. And so what did he do? He tried to claim self-defense in all other evil things he did. Why? Because it worked for the first time. And this is what gets narcissists and psychopaths in trouble. They've gotten away with one evil thing after the next. Because either they were able to skillfully blame someone else, or they were able to claim self-defense. And in their minds they see these as victories. And with each victory they have, the more cocky they get. And the more they overreach and overplay their hand. It will be interesting to see what happens in this case. I am curious to know if he heard voices telling him to do such a thing. Or if he just did them. Now, why is this important to you? Please know you can't fix people. And when you are dealing with toxic people, you do not know what problems they have. And how dangerous they are. So you have to just assume any toxic person is as dangerous as this guy. No matter they are a man or woman, young or old. Just assume the worst if they are toxic. Don't try to fix them. But get yourself to safety. Because when I look into his eyes look dead. The lights are on. But no one is home. Or is there someone? Or something home? We don't know. We don't know. With that said, I pray for those that lost their lives at the hands of Colin. I pray God has them close. And I pray for answers as to what drove Colin to do what he did. But with that being said, what do you think? I would like to know. You can leave your comments below. Let's talk about it. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.